Welcome to Alice Just Alice 55. You're listening to an AI-narrated audiobook version of my original story, The Unclaimed Werewolf, an Unbound Wolves novel, written by Alice N. Smith. Chapter 21, Where Blood is Drawn. Dusk came softly. The light thinned between the trees without warning, as if the forest had decided all at once that it had done enough for the day. Shadows stretched and blended, pooling beneath roots and fallen trunks, blurring familiar paths into something more watchful than welcoming. Nora moved through it in human form, bare feet soundless against the earth. Morsel trotted ahead and back, comfortable in the half-light, tail swaying low and easy. He had spent the day like this, close but not clinging, alert without being restless. Eamon followed several paces behind. He had said little, intentionally. He matched her pace without trying to lead it. When she stopped, he stopped. When she veered off an established path, he adjusted without comment. He hadn't asked questions about the den, the boundaries, the rules that were clearly hers. He had watched instead, absorbing what he could without pressing. It wasn't obedience, it was restraint. Nora noticed. She didn't comment on it. The day had passed in near silence, broken only by the practical sounds of movement and hunting. She had killed once, clean, efficient. Morsel had eaten. Eamon had kept his distance, eyes forward, hands empty. When he had spoken at all, it had been to warn her of nothing more dangerous than shifting ground or wind turning unreliable. He hadn't asked for permission to stay. He had simply stayed. That alone was why he was still here. They were crossing a shallow ravine when Morsel stopped short, not stiff, not alarmed, alert. Nora slowed immediately, senses turning outward. The forest shifted around them, sound pulling thin and tight. Then she smelled it, familiar, sharp, wrong. Her jaw tightened. He came back, she said. Eamon's posture changed at once, not aggressive, but focused. One of them? Yes. Her gaze tracked downslope, already narrowing the direction. The loud one. The one who had interrupted her meal. The one who had believed impatience was confidence. Eamon's voice dropped. He crossed the line. Yes, I can handle him, Eamon said without hesitation. You don't have to. No, Nora said. The word was flat, immediate. She turned toward the scent and started walking. Eamon followed, concern tightening his expression. Nora, he's already broken the rules. Let me... She stopped and looked at him. This is mine, she said. He came for me. Eamon held her gaze for a moment longer, then inclined his head. Then I stay back, he said. Far back. He nodded again. Morsel pressed briefly against her leg, then moved with her as she followed the scent into a narrow clearing ringed with low brush and leaning pines. The light here was thinner, the shadows longer. She stepped into the open without hesitation, human, unarmed, expecting words. She didn't get them. The suitor hit her in wolf form without warning. The impact came from her left, fast, heavy, all momentum and rage. Teeth snapped where her throat had been a heartbeat earlier as she twisted instinctively, the force of the collision sending her skidding across the dirt. Pain flared sharp and immediate along her arm. Blood followed. Nora didn't scream. She shifted. The transformation tore through her in a rush of heat and bone, fur bursting over skin as she rolled and came up on 4 paws, snarling. The clearing seemed to contract around her as dominance slammed outward, the air thickening with it. At the edge of the clearing, Eamon reacted on instinct. He didn't think. He shifted. Cloth tore and split as his body surged into wolf form mid-motion, the remains of his shirt shredding uselessly as bone and muscle took over. He lunged forward. Nora snarled without looking at him. The command carried teeth. Eamon skidded to a halt, paws digging into the earth, breath tearing from his chest as he fought instinct with discipline. He held, taut, vibrating with it. But he held. She didn't spare him another glance. The suitor hesitated. That was his second mistake. She lunged. Her jaws caught his shoulder, teeth sinking deep as she drove him backward, claws raking across his flank. He yelped, high and startled, and tried to twist free, but she was already moving, already adjusting. He was strong. He was also sloppy. The suitor stumbled back, blood dark against his fur now, eyes wide as understanding finally caught up to instinct. He had attacked a female, unprovoked, inside her territory. His aggression collapsed into panic. Nora advanced one step, then another, her presence crushing, unrelenting. She growled, deep and guttural. She didn't need words to convey her meaning. She was giving him one last chance to run. He didn't need to be told twice. The suitor turned and fled, crashing through brush and shadow, scent sharp with fear and shame and fresh blood as he tore away from the clearing. Nora stopped at the edge of it. She didn't pursue. Only when his scent thinned into nothing worth tracking did she let the tension bleed out of her shoulders. Then she shifted. The change rolled through her in reverse. Fur sinking back into skin, bone drawing inward, weight redistributing until she stood once more in human form, bare feet planted in torn earth. The cool dusk air hit her all at once. Pain followed. She hissed softly and looked down at her arm. Blood ran freely now from a ragged tear along her forearm, not deep enough to cripple, but deep enough to matter. It tracked along her wrist and dripped from her fingertips into the dirt below, dark against skin browned and toughened by years of sun, wind, and weather. Morsel was at her side instantly, nose pressed to her arm, whining low in his throat. "I know," she muttered. "I know." Eamon shifted back moments later, the return to human form leaving him standing bare and breathing hard at the edge of the clearing. What remained of his clothing lay in torn, scattered pieces behind him, useless now. For a brief, awkward heartbeat he became acutely aware of his own nakedness, of standing exposed, unprepared, and suddenly human again in a way he hadn't been a moment before. Then he saw the blood. Everything else vanished. He crossed to her without hesitation, gaze fixed on her arm. "You're bleeding. I'm aware." She flexed her fingers once, testing. Pain flared, sharp, clean. "Sit," she told Morsel. He obeyed reluctantly, hovering close, eyes flicking between her face and the wound. Eamon glanced back at the shredded remnants of his shirt, then knelt and gathered the least soiled pieces, tearing them further into clean, usable strips. His movements were quick now, purposeful. Any lingering self-consciousness burned away by urgency. "May I?" he asked quietly. She hesitated, then gave a short, irritated nod. "Don't make it a production." He didn't. He wrapped the cloth around her forearm with practiced care, firm enough to slow the bleeding without binding her movement. His touch was steady, respectful, eyes never straying where they didn't belong. "This will hold," he said, but it should be treated properly. Her jaw tightened immediately. I don't need... I know, he said gently. Not now. Soon. She didn't answer, didn't agree, didn't pull away either. When he finished, he tied the cloth off neatly and leaned back, giving her space without being asked. Morcel pressed against her uninjured side, solid and warm. Nora tested her arm again, slower this time. It held. She exhaled through her nose. We're done here, she said at last. Eamon rose smoothly. Lead the way. She turned toward the trees and started walking, the forest closing in around them as it always had. Behind them the clearing settled. Ahead of them the consequences waited, and Nora did not look back.